What's going on, Workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
Today we're going to be walking you guys through what you guys can expect from patch 5.5 all the way to 6.0, aka Endwalker. We're seeing a lot of questions from like new players, returning players, or maybe even WoW refugees that are like, what does this whole roadmap look like from patch 5.5 all the way to 6.0? Does 6.0 happen before Endwalker goes live? I think that's the question or the comment that Chris saw just recently, which is like, yeah, I think we should probably sit down and walk you guys through it. Chris, why don't you tell them who today's sponsor is and let's jump into the content.
So today's sponsor is us. We are live over on Twitch from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and 8 to 2 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. As Brian joins me, we film these videos live right at that 2 o'clock transition there on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And during stream, we have giveaways when we hit our sub goal for the day. We have giveaways when we have hype trains, ranging all the way from 1% of my net worth in game, which is currently pushing about 10 million. So it's about 100,000 if somebody wins it. That jackpot keeps going up as I move harder into guild making to coasters and stickers I'll mail to your home, all sorts of things, letting you make me say goofy things here in the videos. Lots of things are on that, and we're just trying to make it all more exciting as you guys choose to spend time hanging out with us with whatever we're doing. So that's today's sponsor. But I think today's video is really targeting the fact that there are no stupid questions when it comes to this. If you've never lived through this before, how would you know? Is 6.0 for Endwalker? No, they are one and the same. They are a synonym for each other. 6.0 is Endwalker. 5.0 was Shadowbringers. And then we have 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and that is an expansion. There are half patches, 0.15, 0.25, 0.35, 0.45, and 0.55. So you would think 5.55 would be the end of the expansion, and we would just wait around for 6.0, but that's not exactly true.
So in the past and historically, we've seen from patch 5.5, we could see a 5.6, we could see a 5.7, we could even see a 5.8. In fact, if you're looking at Steam, if you're also looking at World Visit and Data Center Visit, that tends to be in that 0.58 patch, which essentially would be that last kind of piece that we do they do a lot of the background major work so that when the expansion launches, servers are stable and more. Now, if you're coming over from WoW, and I do see chat talking about why does nobody talk about Guild Wars 2 refugees? And it's like, I don't know. Everybody seems to be playing that game from what I can tell. But before that, in that regards, the WoW refugee, like you would have that pre-patch. Like there, and in pre-patch for WoW, you have kind of a story that leads right into the expansion, and that kind of is a one-time event. Well, in 14, it doesn't necessarily exist. All the work's happening behind the scenes. The battle content, the job changes, and all that will only go live with 6.0. When that drops, when that date happens, when the servers go up, that's when you end up seeing all of that. But there's still work going on behind the scenes. Now, I kind of question, like sometimes we've seen them put in things in that lead up beyond just like World Visit, like changes to PvP and things of that nature, but nothing too overly dramatic. And so I always kind of speculated one of the things that I would personally love to see. This is not confirmed. Do not expect this to happen. But I would love to see is that when they show off all the battle system changes, not the new jobs, but the jobs themselves, I wish they would just let that roll out around the 5.8 patch. That way, the 5.58 patch. That way people could just go hands-on with it, because it tends to be that no matter what, everybody panics whenever we talk about the battle system changes, their job changes, because all the like when we talk about the number squish that's coming, I wish that was just in the last couple of weeks before the expansion, so everybody can kind of get it out of their system, get hands-on with it, and say, hey, it's not that bad. And then that way the rest of the expansion's just focusing in on the new jobs and the new level cap. But what do you think, Chris?
No, I mean, I think there's logical reasons to not roll this out on the main patch and half patch. Sometimes we get 0.1, sometimes we get... So, I mean, there are times that we see this. What I would like to see more than just the battle system changes is all of the system changes. So we see things like World Visit and Data Center Visit come in this 0.58. I would love to see more things just across the board. So if we're going to change the way vendor things work, I'd like to see, if we're go ahead and just release all tome caps. Just like I'd like to see it be a lot more of kind of a God mode victory lap. Like if we're going to make anything silly, I'd like to see it be then. And then one of the things as far as server stability goes is I'd like to see there be more events. Like if say we're trying to push up the number of people per zone, then give us something like a temporary Ixion style event where you push people into zones. Start pushing server stability, because losing access to something like World Visit for a few days during 0.5 is not nearly as big of a deal as any other patch.
Mhm.
There's not a Savage World first race. There's not new hunts to grind. There's not. So, like, do we want to play? Yes. Are we still subscribed? Absolutely. But if you had to pick a time during a 2-year cycle, 0.5 is the patch when, if you're going to take breaks or if something on the server is going to go wrong, that's the time. So I'd like to see it be more just across the board, more testing. This game doesn't have a PTR, which is a subject in its own, and so I think giving us a chance to test battle systems is an example of one of the things they could do to just let us break things. It doesn't seem to hurt anything. Nothing we do during 0.5 affects 6.0 because we hit hard reset, and so it's the one patch where, like, it's the easiest to get caught up, but it also doesn't carry anything forward with it.
Right.
It doesn't. You're not breaking anything.
So let's talk about like timelines. Obviously, we're going to be estimating some dates, but based off of just historical trends with this game, we have 5.5 that just dropped. Literally just dropped in our hands. 13th. April 13th. We know that May 15th and 16th is the Fan Fest. And then we speculate 5.5 is going to be May 25th. 5.5. You know, and so that essentially then concludes the totality of essentially the storied content before we go into Endwalker. And so from there, when we talk about like a 5.6 or a 5.7 or a 5.8, like you could easily, like, we're still in May. Like, and when we think about the time from when 5.5 dropped, or the 0.5 drops in history, we've seen it 6 months, which that would put us May,
October,
June, July, August, September, October. So we have a lot. So if we're still in May, we still have June, July, September to get through. So
assuming it's not accelerated.
And thus essentially this is always that time where with the 5.6 or the 5.7 or the 5.8, this is where you'll start to see kind of loosening of certain requirements. So if you're like, hey, I just returned to the game since Shadowbringers launch, well, you might see that some of the tome caps get increased in terms of your weekly, so you could actually gear up more jobs. It's just the way to kind of encourage you to keep playing, and that way you're not necessarily like hitting this artificial weekly cap when it doesn't necessarily really matter at this point, because everything's kind of still waiting on 6.0. So they kind of loosen those up. You'll see weekly lockouts and things like that loosened up over the 5.6, 5.7, 5.8. So right now we have a weekly lockout for the near raid. We still have a weekly lockout on the Savage raid, but those will start to ease up, so that way you can actually like run it more and actually get rewarded for it. So you start to see all the loosening of that happening over the course of those patches as well. But and then we're still assuming that in some time between May and launch that there's going to be a media tour in which they invite out media outlets and they invite content creators, and who knows if that's going to happen or if that's going to be virtual or how they're planning on kind of tackling that this time around. And hopefully that's going to be something that will help alleviate stress when it comes to the new jobs and what's changing with your current job. But that's the roadmap
around that. So all the articles and interviews would come out at the same time. So last time there was, I think, 30 interviews given across like 50 some odd outlets. Outlets as small as Work to Game, and outlets as large as things like IGN and PlayStation Magazine and things like that. So you have everything in between, the whole gamut. And so that's kind of a big thing there. I would also, just to kind of loop back real quick, because I didn't think about this, if they're going to give away Stormblood starting next expansion, right? If the free trial is going to extend, we don't know that
we don't know.
But if it was, I would love for that sort of thing to be rolled out now. Invite new players to get further now prior to the expansion.
Okay, so I can see that'd be interesting.
Assuming that they're going to give away Stormblood.
I could see that going on and on and on, but at the end of the day, when we talk about the free trial, the one thing that seems kind of cruel is that if you pony up money, that you bought the game, you paid for the game, and let's say you took a break and you're at level 40 or you're at level 50, you have to sub to play. Unless you're the free trial. Like, that's where this starts to get a little bit like, what would be the better business model
Oh, man.
in terms of the game
Free
itself.
login campaigns.
Well, we get free login campaigns, and we usually get them around sometime around any patch where you can get like up to like 96 hours to play the game. That's not total. It's
Knock the
like,
dust off.
knock the dust off and say if you want to jump back in. But let's say they did ended up adding in Stormblood. Like at some point, like why would you ever like never give them money so you can always like play? You're just going to be behind.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point.
I'm not against
Maybe
it.
don't do it. No,
Maybe just add Game Pass into it, and so you could throw me a million gil, Chris. Like that's, I
let's
think
do it.
let's just
do it.
do it.
That's not a bias at all. That's no. It's
No,
it's
I have no ulterior motive.
So the okay. So speaking of events, speaking of login campaigns, we are currently in the Easter event.
Yes.
It is going on right now. The Hatching Tide. What other events do we have between now and the expansion?
So that's a really great question. You're going to end up seeing, you'll have the summer, the Moonfire Fair, which is one of my favorite events, and that has jumping puzzles.
Costa del Sol.
Casa del Sol. Like I love that. It's beautiful.
Doesn't
Plus,
do anything.
especially the like, I really have enjoyed Stormblood more than now that we're kind of getting into that story with Bojo with the war.
Sure.
I really felt like that's what the one piece that I was missing out of that kind of story. It just kind of felt strange that we kept punching this giant empire, and they're like, you're good. Well, whatever.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? You can't win them all. What? Like, if you guys are like you're supposed to be threatening, and then it's like y'all are just like, all right, we'll just let you have Doma, whatever. It's like, oh, we lost. All right, there's a no take backsies with the empire.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like, all right, we got to have somebody else invade you so we can take it from them. But the core aspect of it is that. I forgot. I went on a tangent. Events. Yes. So we Moonfire Fair, fantastic event. We have the Rising event. This is usually the yearly celebration of the launch of 14. Now, some of the Rising event from last year due to COVID actually got pushed out to earlier just this year. Like when we talk about like all the things that they're wanting to do in terms of like doing different conversations, and that's actually going to get also some of that stuff is getting put into FanFest.
The Rising's big.
The Rising's big. It's usually when Yoshi P actually talks to us in game as himself. We've been to the developer room. They've had random little mini games that are really exciting. And then that's usually followed up by the Halloween event. So being that this game, Endwalker, nice moon theme, could be launching in October, like I hope that they've got some really cool Halloween
Even
event.
just September. You'll just be getting settled in and there will already be an event. And then when is the anniversary of this game? Because that's another big event to kind of keep on your.
That's the Rising event. That's in August.
That's the Rising.
Yeah.
Okay. So just trying to use every term possible because sometimes
Fair,
the Rising and some people say anniversary
and Rising / anniversary, and then you have the Halloween event. Okay. And why am I'm drawing a blank on its name.
6.0 is Endwalker. I'm trying to think of any other synonyms because sometimes I see people in the comment going, "When is this versus this?" And the answer is yes. It is both of those things, and it's because we are overwhelming new players with all these terms.
Yeah.
So, Hatching Tide is Easter.
Mm-hmm.
The midsummer events are kind of July 4th, summer solstice.
We're probably they're going to do the Make It Rain campaign, I guess, during FanFest or something like that. Like that's
the MGP campaign, right? Yeah. That's where you go do Golden Saucer stuff, and we could have. There is a Golden Saucer at FanFest usually, and so it could be possible to see them doing in-game things to try to make up for not having a physical Golden Saucer set up anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So just trying to just kind of dump some things that are in the back of our head where when one of us says something and the other one says something else, and we both know we're talking about the same thing. I'm just trying to throw out these terms and trying to repeat a lot of the things that I've seen in comments lately because I don't want to call out the comments. I don't want to show the comments. No one ask you to show the comments. I don't want to show the comments because I don't want them to feel like it was a dumb question. It's not. There's no way you could have known this. Make It Rain is a great time to go get involved in MGP. Go get familiar with creators like Mioni and watch the Fashion Report. Get your MGP up. This year, I know people have wanted to get the Regalia back, which was our Final Fantasy XV crossover event. I would love to see more crossover events in general in this game. I just don't think they should have something as large as a 3-part raid series. So I think that dumps a little bit of our roadmap knowledge out here. as far as kind of how this game is paced, especially from people who compare it to WoW, where patch cycles are a bit less consistent. We do have a steady clip, and prior to each patch, we have a part 1 and a part 2 of the live letter, where the developer producer comes out with a guest, and they have both a part 1 and part 2 of each of those, where they talk about it. Part 1's that first part is typically a outline of what the next patch has. Part 2 is a summary of that, followed by showing us in-game things, more detail on the parts they want to show us. And they have second halves where they'll have things like interviews, they'll push new merch, they'll do all sorts of things in the second half of those live letters. And then Yoshi P also writes letters to us annually, and so there's a lot here where between patches and communication, I know that even just in my personal comments section, my wife lately has said, like, now that you're covering this full time, it feels like there's always something. You're like, oh, well, I mean, it's a live letter. And she's like, okay. And then I'm like, oh, well, it's a live letter. Yeah, but you just did one of those. Yeah, but this is the second part. Oh, well, it's the patch notes. Oh, okay. Well, now it's the patch. Okay. So now we're done for a while? Well, until the next live letter. And so, like, there is kind of this always ongoing stream of something exciting about 14 to varying degrees.
Yeah.
I just want to kind of catch people up on that.
Nice. Well, the only thing that it just made me laugh, obviously, with the WoW comment is I've even heard, like, seen chat and I've seen, like, comments talking about, like, 9.1 might be the only Shadowlands patch. They might just do that and then be like, all right, we'll see you guys in 10.0, you know? Like,
oh,
oopsies. And then meanwhile, like, 14's like, hold my beer. Like, all right, yeah. Worst case scenario, pandemic. Okay, well, we're still on target. To see and deliver some content. So I think probably anything else.
It's such a substantial... Shadowlands, lore-wise, is one of the most substantial places I think we've gone. So for that to be the content that you only put out 2 servings of would be incredibly insulting.
We will see. It'll be interesting. If nothing else, right now, Brian's in video game heaven. I've got so many really just great games that I'm playing. I've got like this awesome community that we're playing with. And I think that wraps it up for this video. I'm going to go play some 14 now. Get some grinding in, get some tomes. See if I can't upgrade some of this gear. I don't know. It's just going to be...
it's this augment I hear of.
What's this augment thing?
Yeah, know? Let's go drive up those items.
Perfect. And then Chad's actually, before we wrap up, says, have you guys seen the PS5 update? It's amazing. 4K.
We don't have PS5s.
We don't have PS5s, and but I've seen people be excited about it. I'm thrilled that it's here. Honestly, PS5 update has actually been inviting a lot of new players. So I've been seeing a lot of comments like on our getting started guides, like, "Hey, I'm new. Saw that this game was free on PS5. Checking it out for the first time." Like, honestly, that person's gonna have an insane experience. Like, that's the introduction.
This game's always been 4K.
Like, this is gorgeous. Like, it is. And like, even though we didn't talk about it in the video, like we're seeing interviews talking about how they're working to actually work and upgrade the textures within the game. We still do have some PS3 assets. And from that perspective, it's like they're working on it. So I think essentially it's really exciting to see them do that work. And I think they've actually been doing a lot of that work behind the scenes for some time. And game development takes a long time to get.
And it's good for all of us. PS5 was the excuse, but it's good for PC. It's good for Mac. It's good for the game moving forward. So it's a big deal.
Once I get my computer, I'll be able to actually run this game in ultra wide. And while I had it for a minute before it decided it won the break, playing 14 in ultra wide at 1440p, oh, it's so gorgeous, dude. Like, it's mind-blowingly beautiful. And so it's exciting to see that. But that's going to wrap us up for today's video. Thanks, chat, for being here. And again, thanks, Miss Lady, for the cheering the 300 bits. And welcome to all the new follows. We have a goal of hitting 10,000 followers here on Twitch in 2021. And you guys are pushing us ever closer to that goal. So thanks for sharing out the stream and inviting others to come hang out with us live for this. And then we also have a goal of 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Getting that silver play button would feel so surreal. I don't think we'll get it anytime soon because we're only like at 64, but we're closing the gap one subscriber at a time. So thank you for whoever recommends out our content to other people. It really means the world to us. But for Work to Game, my name is Brian.
My name's Chris.
Thanks for watching. Hopefully you have a great day. And hopefully we'll see you in our next one. But until then,
take care.